Good morning, internet strangers. Today we are back again with another reaction video. Today we're reacting to a video, why is it hard to be a guy in today's world? The video is by the Iced Coffee Hour clip, and as always, links are going to be in the description down below. And while you're down there, might as well hit that sub button because we're trying to hit 300 subs before the end of the month. And with that being said, let's begin his world.
Why does it seem like masculinity is shunned lately?
I think modern men...
Because guys stink. No. I mean, we're 3 seconds into the video, but I'll give my opinion first why I think masculinity has been shunned in today's world. I think it's because men were the dominant factor for so long, and even though that things have become much more balanced than they were 50, 60, 70 years ago, people are residually angry. People have residual anger from their parents who accumulated it from their parents who accumulated it from their parents. You have a lot of people that have never suffered any kind of abuse or any kind of maltreatment from men, but because their mother or their friend or their sister or someone from their past has spoken so negatively about men for so long, and obviously with the media capitalizing on this, because why not capitalize on this? You have more and more people that are just super angry towards men, even though they have personally not experienced anything.
and are being made to pay for the advantages that their fathers and grandfathers had.
Exactly.
And in a world in which we've moved from a brawn-based to a brain-based economy, and you don't need protectors and providers that much, we've allowed women to access education and employment and become socioeconomically viable on their own. They literally don't need no man. For many of the women, 2 women for every 1 man completing a 4-year US college degree. Women aged 21 to 29 earn £1,111 more than men on average. So they're literally like ahead by most of the key objective metrics that people under the age of 30 care about. What's the role for men in that? And it's also, there's a current trend of it being cool to dunk on whoever was seen to have had the advantages in the past.
100%. Media has definitely been pushing this narrative. Like, if you watch daytime television, you could have 4 women talking about cutting off a man's manhood, and they laughing. Why? Because men used to be in power. Just how it's okay to make fun of white people. Just how it's okay to make fun of men. What other group can we make fun of? Just how it's okay to make fun of Christians. Because they were the group in power for so long that now it's okay to make fun of them. Unfortunately, it went from poking and making fun to a serious "we hate men." I'd rather meet a bear than a man, and anyone who says that is clearly not very educated. Well, I mean, black bears are not that bad, but if you bump into a grizzly or a polar bear, I can guarantee you'd much rather meet a man.
Right? It's like straight white male syndrome. Like straight that had advantages in the past because people who are homosexual were mistreated. Fucking Alan Turing was chemically castrated. White, slavery wasn't that long ago. Like, yes, also had some benefits. Male, women weren't allowed to go to university until...
I mean, it was 400 years ago. That's kind of a long time. Nobody alive today was alive when slavery was a thing. I'm just saying. It was a long time ago.
Not so
I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm just saying that we need to let go of the anger.
long ago, they were,
Relax.
etc., etc., etc. But it uses errors of the past to make compensations in the present. And that fundamentally means that, like, men, as one of the biggest groups that have seemed to have had some kind of benefit, immediately get dunked to the bottom of the pile. And yet, if you look even remotely closely at the outcomes that lots of guys are getting, I don't think that there's much evidence that guys are flourishing at the moment. Like, I think it was the first quarter of last year, like 33% of new CEOs were female. And that was heralded as like new frontier, but until it's at 50%, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh God. Do 50% of women want to be CEOs? Like, really? Is that a life that you aspire to? I don't fucking aspire to be a CEO, and I own my own company. I don't want to be a CEO. It sounds like it sucks. I'm looking forward to the day when someone else steps in and takes that role. So guys had it good in some ways.
You know, it's crazy because it's true. Guys had it good for a very long time. I was not born in the era where it was just life was given to me on a silver platter. Like that was not the era I was born in. I had to work, and women were treated as equals when I was around, and I treated them like equals. However, it's true in today's world, it's probably the worst it's ever been to be a guy, especially if you're straight and if you're white. But the self-unalivement rate for men is higher than women. The unemployment rate is higher for men than it is for women. The homeless rate is higher for men than it is for women. The most amount of people in prison are men. The people that are most afflicted by violent crimes are actually men. Is it being inflicted by another man? 100%. However, it does not change the fact that the people who are victimized the most are actually men. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but you know what? Statistics don't lie.
For a while, and it's just like, it's like cultural reparations for men to pay this fine that certain areas of the world believe that they owe to people. And that means that like mistreating them or considering them to be in a privileged position is something that everybody should focus on.
How do you navigate that as a guy?
Not self-pitying, I think.
Before he gets into this is how I navigate it. One, if someone asks me for my opinion, I give it, and I'm unapologetic about it. I don't care. I don't care if they get mad. And if they do get mad, I said, you asked me for my opinion. They go, well, you could have. I'm like, no. You asked me for my opinion, and that's what it is. And I get a lot of hate for that. But you know what I also get? I also get a lot of support. And it allows me to separate myself from the people that just want me to say what they want me to say, and the people that actually value my opinion. That's how I navigate the situation. I navigate the modern landscape of being a man by acting the way I would normally behave, regardless of the people that I'm surrounded by. Obviously, I'm not treating my clients the same way I'm talking to the homie. That's two separate things. But if I'm talking to a stranger and I have an opinion that I know they're going to disagree with, and an easy way to shut my argument down is by going, oh, you're a straight white male. Well, I'm not white, but you're a straight man. So obviously you would have that standpoint. I go, you know what? Yeah, you're correct. I have this point of view because this is my perspective living as a straight male. And if I'm a bad guy for living my truth, as you guys say, then I'm gonna be the bad guy. But in my experience, more people respect someone who's being honest while being respectful. I'm not being a dick about it. More people respect an honest opinion than echo chambers. Again, this has been my anecdotal experience. I'm not speaking on the general population.
Think, like, would it have been easier as a guy to have been born 50 years ago? Maybe. Like, maybe. Because you would have been able to out-earn and out-educate most of the women in your local village or whatever pretty easily. Because 50 years ago was when Title IX was introduced, which was to get more women into universities. So you would have been the highest performing person, and hypergamy would have allowed you to have risen to the top, and more women would have found you attractive. But it's not. And pitying yourself or pitying the world or like screaming and creating a victim mindset around yourself is literally just giving the power to somebody else. This is Alex's thing, right? It's like wherever you point the finger of blame, or wherever you point the finger of responsibility is where you point the finger of power. It's like,
I like that. Wherever you point the finger of responsibility is where you point the finger of power. Remember that. And to any guy watching this video, don't be a victim. Like, unless you're an actual victim of like a crime, sure, be the victim. But like when you have the opportunity to not be a victim, to not blame everyone else besides yourself, when you have the opportunity to take accountability for your actions and grow as an individual, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend it. Highly recommended.
if you do that, it's like, this is you. It's only you that's going to come and save you with regards to this. So navigating it is difficult. I think that being open and honest as a guy as well, like, look, it's fucking tough. It's tough in many, many ways. And even if it looks like guys have got it all sorted from the outside, I think that there are so many that are struggling. And that's something that...
Bruh, if you guys had any idea what it was like, I remember like this was back in college. People kept telling me, oh my God, you look like you have it so put together. You look like nothing phases you. You're always smiling. You're always laughing. How are you always having such a good time? Sweetheart, it's a mask of pain. You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. I've just been conditioned to not bitch and moan about it in public. That's the difference. That's the difference. I was conditioned to not whine about it publicly, to not air my dirty laundry out on the internet, to not, unfortunately, to not seek help when I need it. I've done a lot of, I guess, self-therapy to overcome the fact I'm allowed to ask for help. It's not a bad thing to ask for help. But basically, if I'm struggling, I don't make it other people's problems. That's how.
There needs to be a big cultural shift around, a massive cultural shift.
So you talk about suppressing men, right? What's the word that you use?
What do you mean?
Like how masculinity and men, like you go into war mode, and then when you're not in war mode, you're suppressed or something like that.
I'm not sure if that's me.
Well, you used a different word rather than suppressed.
Okay.
How like masculinity or whatever is diminishing.
Okay.
Or how it's
yeah,
in a point right now where like it's kind of being hidden.
Okay, I would say it's being eroded. Yeah, for sure.
Eroded.
Yeah.
Sure. So that is a product of the environment that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the case, you can't necessarily change the environment. No government body is going to step in and change the environment. And that's just going to be a byproduct of the environment that we are placed in. How do you then necessarily like change that?
I think the culture is going to self-rectify, and I think we've started seeing it more and more online these days. Right before the big vid, you saw more and more women marching and like complaining and woe is me, and a lot of it was valid. A lot of it was not valid, in my opinion. And during the whole vid scenario, things got worse. I feel like the divide between men and women got bigger. People were more and more angry. Tensions were significantly higher. Now that period is done, people are back at work. People are socializing once again. You're starting to see a shift in the culture happen once again. If any of you guys go on TikTok, one thing that's super popular right now is trad wife. Women wanting to become traditional housewives again. Now, obviously on social media, it's blown out of proportion, like some lady who made like cereal from scratch. Not everybody has that kind of time on their hands. But we are seeing a culture shift where more people are saying like, hey, I want to be a stay-at-home wife. And men going, hey, I want to be a provider for my family. And less people are being shamed or shunned for saying these things publicly, because if you had said that maybe like 6 years ago, a lot of quote unquote feminists would have shunned a woman for saying that she wants to be a traditional wife. And we are starting to see the re-emergence of the traditional and nuclear families. We're seeing more YouTube channels dedicated to the traditional lifestyle and to going back to the way things were.
Like, are you supposed to just accept the fact that it's an issue? Okay, it's an issue, and it's because of some external factors that we can't necessarily change. And if you look at data, it shows that, like you said, you've claimed or whatever, testosterone is like decreasing and masculinity is decreasing and stuff like this. What do you do about it?
Yeah, testosterone's dropped 0.1% every month since 1950.
That's crazy.
That's the way that people get prescribed TRT from doctors. So a lot.
Well, to be fair, one of the reasons why, it's not the reason why, one of the reasons why testosterone is lowering in people is because a lot of microplastics and a lot of, I think, the containers that we were using back like in 2010, even like between 2000 to like 2000, even now we're still using these kind of containers, these kind of Tupperware and styrofoam containers. When heated, apparently it releases estrogen into the food. I never fact checked this. You know what? Let me check it real quick. So the question, does microwaving plastics release estrogen? The testing shows that more than 70% of products release chemicals that act like estrogen, and that was before they were exposed to stuff to real conditions, simulated sunlight, dishwashing, and microwave Bittner says. So take it with a grain of salt, but microplastics, heating up plastics, releases chemicals into your food that act similar to estrogen. So that is in part the reason why testosterone has decreased, is because there has been an increase of estrogen in basically what we're consuming.
A lot of the time, there's a bunch of places in Austin that do this. Doctors will use the normal range for testosterone levels for men from 1950 to gauge off whether or not you've got low testosterone.
Could they have just been high in 1950, or is it like...
No.
We're also doing way less physical labor than in 1950. When you're exercising as a man, even as a woman, if you're like lifting heavy and you're regularly getting physical, your body will begin to produce more testosterone. Since we are living in a society that's mostly focused towards computer skills, tech stuff, and using our brains, we're not being physically active, which will make the body not produce as much testosterone as it did in the 1950s.
It's just, well, maybe, I don't know. I guess we didn't have the levels in like 1850, but I would want to know what happened between 1850 and 1950 for us to be like, oh, and men all had this huge surge in testosterone. That doesn't seem like it's going to be too likely. But yeah, dude, I don't disagree. Like, if any other group has a problem, we ask, what can we do to fix society? If men have a problem, we say, what is it that men are doing where they can't fix themselves?
True.
Like, we spend billions and billions in taxpayer-funded money to set up charities and initiatives and research to try and help groups that are struggling. Like, the biggest risk to a man under the age of 30 in terms of his own mortality are literally the hands that he has.
Sad.
Like, you're more likely to die by suicide than any other way under the age of 30. 18 to 30. Like, that's a big deal. It's a fucking big deal. That doesn't sound like privilege to me. Oh, well, you know, guys have had it good for so long. Oh, yeah, well, like, fucking that.
Guys had it good for a very long time, true. I have never had the chance to taste that success. Why am I being punished for it? Why is it when I talk about my mental health, people won't take it seriously? Luckily for me, I have a very good support group around me. I have people that understand. I have people that are actually willing to take the time to listen. And that is the place of privilege that I am in. The privilege I have comes from my support group, not from the fact that I'm a man. And more people have to understand that you have to stop punishing the people of today for the mistakes of their ancestors. That is insane.
Apart from the war and the dangerous jobs, and the like 40% of us, only 40% of us reproducing. It's like 60% of men not reproducing. Like, that doesn't sound very good. In terms of how you can at least begin to change the culture around it, I think that accepting that guys are struggling and like changing the narrative, like the deadbeat dad, like the Homer Simpson, the Peter Griffin, the like sort of stupid father role. If you ever watch any kids TV show as well, it's always that the boys are kind of boisterous and clumsy and try to sort of cheat or use their size or their group numbers in some way, and the girls are smart and like clever and more dexterous, and they end up winning because they're more like noble and inventive in the way that they come up with stuff. It's like, all right, well, what's the subtext that tells young boys? Not to say that like girls shouldn't win shit, like they should, but I'm not convinced that like an entire generation of people that were brought up on Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin have got like high expectations for themselves. Again, if you're taking your role models from that, and this is what...
Bro, Homer Simpson had a job, a stay-at-home wife, 2 kids, a dog, 2 cars, and a full house. Basement, upstairs, living room, dining room, kitchen, backyard, front yard, and a cat. I aspire to be like Homer.
Should you really be looking to Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin for your like father role model advice? Probably not. But in a world that's got more single parent households than ever before and more absent father figures than ever before, where should they look? Like, all of the people that had problems with Jordan Peterson's ascension or Andrew Tate's ascension, where should the guys that followed them got their role models from? Genuine question. Where should they? Well, they should have got it from dad. what if dad wasn't at home? Because that's a huge percentage of young boys. They should have got it from, I'm yet to hear from the people that are usually critical about that stuff, like a good answer. Yet to hear someone say, yeah, like whatever fucking initiative this is, sports stars or superheroes or something. It's like, all right, well, like that's what people see their public figures on the internet as. They see them as like what, thought leaders in some way or another, or a surrogate father figure.
That's so true, man. Because I remember like when the Jordan Peterson, I'm having a hard time here. I remember when Jordan Peterson started popping off on the internet, people were like, oh, people shouldn't look up to him. He's a misogynist. He's that. He's this. Listen, I've read all 3 of his books. He's not misogynistic. Do I agree with everything he said in his entire career? No, I don't agree with 100% everything that he said. But most of what he says is just about self-improvement. It's not really about anti-woman or anti-gay or anti-anything. It's just like, hey, you're a dude. How about you be better? How about you just be better? Just be good. And that was mostly it. I don't really understand why all these people are so mad about it. And I remember having these conversations, and I asked them if I shouldn't be reading Jordan Peterson's book on how to improve myself, who should I look up to? And no one ever had an answer. Everyone has a complaint. Nobody has an answer. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not really surprised. That's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you're a man, are you struggling? And if you are, please reach out to somebody. Speak out in the comments. I will read your comment and I'll reach out to you. If you're struggling, please, you just know that you're not alone. While you're down in that comment section, might as well hit like, share, favorite, and subscribe, because we're trying to hit 300 subs before the end of the month. And if you want to be part of the first 300 people, you're going to have to hit that sub button. And if you don't want to, well, remember, at the end of the day, I'm just some guy on the internet, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. If you want to see more of my face, be sure to click the video you see on screen right now.